I lived in Chicago at that time, and I used to go to a grocery store that was close to my home pretty often. It was Wednesday afternoon, maybe around 4 p.m., and I was going to get a few things for my girlfriend. When I got there, I saw this big guy fighting verbally with the cashier. He was saying that the cashier didn't give him his full change. Yeah, the dude got pissed for like $2, but he was scary and really tall. I tried to mind my own business, grabbing a basket and heading straight to the back of the store, but I could hear the guy's voice rising. His tone was deep, like someone who was used to intimidating people to get his way. The cashier was a younger guy who couldn't have been more than 20, was trying to explain calmly that he gave him the right change. But the big guy wasn't having it. I glanced over my shoulder to get a better look at him. He had on a dirty, faded baseball cap, and his broad shoulders looked like they could break down a door. His fists clenched and unclenched as if he was holding back from doing something worse. I debated whether I should just leave and come back later, but then I remembered my girlfriend was waiting for me to get those things. I hurried to grab what I needed, thinking I'd just get out quickly. But as I turned the corner into the snack aisle, I realized I wasn't the only one trying to avoid the scene at the front. A few other shoppers were nervously glancing toward the registers, moving quietly like they didn't want to be noticed. I quickly grabbed the chips and drinks, tossed them into my basket, and headed to the self-checkout to avoid the guy altogether. The argument had escalated by then. The big guy was leaning over the counter, practically towering over the cashier, who looked like he was trying not to back down, but you could see the fear in his eyes. Everyone in the store had stopped to watch, including me. The guy's voice dropped low, too quiet for me to hear what he was saying, but whatever it was, it made the cashier visibly flinch. I hurried through the self-checkout. My heart was pounding a little faster now. I didn't want to get involved, but I couldn't help feeling uneasy. It wasn't just the size of the guy, it was something else. He had this weird aura about him, like he wasn't just angry over the money. Like there was something else going on in his mind, something darker. As I bagged my groceries, I heard the guy shout again, this time louder. "You think I'm playing? You better give me my damn money." Then the cashier went to call his manager, and after he went to the back of the store to call him, we suddenly hear a single gunshot. Then the guy turned and simply stormed out of the store, shouting, "I'll be right back. Wait for me." The cashier and the manager came in again. They were unharmed, thankfully. I froze, standing there in the middle of the self-checkout aisle with my mind trying to catch up with what had just happened. A gunshot, man. For a split second, no one moved. There was just this eerie silence, like the entire store was holding its breath. But then chaos erupted. People started shouting and running for the doors, and I found myself caught in the wave of panic. My first instinct was to follow them, to get out as fast as I could. But something in the back of my mind made me hesitate. The guy had said he'd be back. That threat lingered in the air like a ticking time bomb. I glanced toward the front again, where the cashier was trembling, still holding the phone, trying to talk to someone. Probably the cops. I grabbed my groceries and headed for the door, but as I stepped outside, I felt this overwhelming need to check my surroundings. I scanned the parking lot, expecting to see the guy already speeding off in his car. But there was no car, just a handful of shoppers scrambling into their vehicles, and the big guy, he was gone. That's when I heard the distant sound of sirens. It was like a signal that snapped me back to reality. And suddenly, I hear 3 more gunshots. I rushed to my car, threw the groceries in the back, and locked the doors immediately. My hands were shaking as I fumbled with the keys, trying to start the engine. My brain kept replaying the moment, his threat, that single gunshot, something wasn't going to be right. As I drove away, I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe the situation wasn't over. My heart was still racing, and I kept checking the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the guy following me. But there was nothing, just the quiet streets of my neighborhood. I pulled into my driveway and sat there for a minute, staring at my front door, trying to calm myself down. Once inside, I put the groceries on the counter and tried to act normal. My girlfriend came out of the bedroom, asking if everything was okay. I told her everything, and she could see the fear in my eyes. I've never experienced something like this before, even living in Chicago, where this type of stuff happens really often. I kept looking at the news on that night, waiting for some kind of update on the guy. But nothing came. No reports, no follow-up. I never saw any news or anything else about that guy. I couldn't help but wonder what happened after he stormed out of the store when I heard the 3 gunshots. I think about where he went and what he might be planning next. I don't even know if he's still alive. Certainly, that event helped me to make the decision to eventually move out the city with my girl. This happened in 2011. There was a grocery store 10 minutes far from where I was living, and I went there every week. But what happened in an specific day still gives me heavy chills. It was around 2 p.m., and I was going there to buy some food, chips, and something to drink. But when I got there, I immediately saw this employee staring at me. Like literally, he didn't take his eyes off me. He had a full beard and was wearing a black beanie. After a few minutes of him looking at me, I turned to him and gave him a forced smile. But the dude didn't smile back, he just kept staring with a blank facial expression. So I just moved on. Minutes later, I suddenly hear my phone buzzing, and I got a message of an unknown number. It was a picture, and when I saw it, my heart almost dropped. It was me standing in that store. It was taken from outside the store, through the window. I instantly thought if it was the SUS employee who kept looking at me. At first I tried to ignore it and get my stuff, but weirdly, as I walked through the store, the dude wasn't there anymore. He vanished. Just as I was almost getting all the stuff I needed, I got another message, and another picture of me from inside the store. Man, I was just speechless. I asked, "Who is it?" And the person replied with a, "I don't know, you gotta find out." I stood frozen in the snacks aisle. My mind raced, trying to figure out who was doing this. I scanned the store, searching for the creepy employee, but he was nowhere to be found. There were only a few other customers minding their own business, but that just made everything feel even more unsettling. My stomach churned with a bad mix of dread and confusion. I quickly tossed the last few items into my basket, desperate to just get the hell out of there. As I hurried toward the checkout, my damn phone buzzed again. I hesitated before looking, scared as shit, but my curiosity got the better of me. It was the final picture, this time taken from right behind me, like someone was only a few feet away. My heart pounded in my chest. Whoever was doing this was inside the store, close enough to snap photos without me even noticing. I rushed to the first normal employee I saw and asked if a guy with a full beard and a black beanie worked there, and he said, "No, why?" I explained the situation and he called his manager, who also told me he indeed didn't work there. I just thanked them and left. I never saw this guy again or got any messages after this. I think I'll never know who this guy was, and I never went back to that store, of course. At least it wasn't pictures of my house or something. When I was a little girl, I used to go to a grocery store with my mom. It was maybe around 6:30 p.m., and I was there with my mom when suddenly this older lady approached us. "Excuse me, I'm sorry, but I think I see someone staring at you, and I think he's been following you guys." My mom got instantly concerned, and I felt the fear raising. The old lady pointed towards the guy. He was far away looking at something, fruits and stuff. He was wearing a black cap and a black jacket. Thankfully, the old lady was kind enough to let us know. We thanked her and rushed to get the rest of the stuff. When we were in the line waiting, I could see the same dude looking directly towards us. I looked at him, and after a few minutes, he left. Then we paid for our stuff, and as we got in the parking lot, I was glancing around to see if he was there. But he wasn't. We got in the car and went back home. But then things got even creepier. After a few hours, I see my mom looking at something through the window with fear in her face. I asked what was wrong, and she said, "Nothing, honey." But as I looked through the window, I could see a white car that we never seen before, parked literally in the front of our house. She called our neighbor to see if she was waiting for someone or if she knew that car, but she said no. We couldn't see the person inside very clearly. The car windows were a heavy black. After some time, we tried to brush it off. Maybe it was a coincidence or something. I went back to my room, and just as I was getting downstairs again, my mom was still there, and we heard a knock on the door. I saw the fear in my mom's eyes, and we tried to ignore it. We pulled the curtains of the front window very slowly and peeked out. It was the same guy, but now he was wearing a Pizza Hut uniform and a Pizza Hut cap, and holding a pizza box. I knew he was trying to do something bad. I could hear him saying, "Hello, your pizza is here." We ignored him, and after like 2 minutes he knocked again and said, "I'm just trying to deliver a pizza. Somebody in this house ordered it. It's my job." We got so scared that my mom quickly called the police. After some minutes, the dude went back to his car, and we thought he was about to finally leave, but we could see him opening his trunk and pulling something out and putting it on his pocket. Then he started walking to the house again, and he went to the side of the house, going to the back door. He tried to open it, but of course it was locked. And after this, he just went back to his car and left right before the police got there. We explained the situation to the cops, but we never saw the dude again, or heard anything from him. We will never know what he was trying to do to us, and what he pulled out from the trunk. I just know that that experience will stay with me for my whole life.